أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله إن الله وإنا إليه راجعون ولا تزر وزرة وزر أخرى. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My dear respected brothers and sisters in all Islam, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. May the peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. For each of these videos in my video series and for all other research work I have been able to conduct, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and upon all the Anbiya as well. Alhamdulillah. I neglected to bring forth proper etiquette in previous series, so I'm going to refine that. I was so in a hurry to just put forth the research. The title of this piece is Suhr in the Quran al-Karim and in the Kitab. The first very evident ayat that speaks to the situation of Suhr is in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayat 102. This very specifically speaks to the cost of the usage of Suhr for the seller as well as for the buyer of Suhr. They followed what the shaitans gave out falsely against the mulk of Nabi Sulaiman sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The blasphemers were not Solomon, but the shaitans teaching men magic, Suhr, and such things as came down at Babylon to the angels Malakiini, Harut and Marut. But neither of these taught anyone such things without saying, "We are only for trial, so do not blaspheme." They learned from them the means to sow discord between man and wife, but they could not thus harm anyone except by Allah's permission. And they learned what harmed them and not what profited them, and they knew that the buyers of magic, Suhr, would have no share in the akhirah amongst khalaq, the happiness of the hereafter amongst creation. And vile was the price for which they did sell their souls, if they but knew. If they had guarded themselves from evil, far better had been the reward from their Lord, if they but knew. Holy Quran, Surah 2, ayats 102 through 103. Hast thou not turned thy vision to those who were given a portion of the book Kitab? They believe in sorcery and evil, and say to the unbelievers that they are better guided in the right way than the believers. There are those whom Allah hath cursed, and those whom Allah hath cursed thou wilt find have no one to help them. Holy Quran, Surah 4, ayats 51 through 52. Say, shall I point out to you something worse than this, as judged by the treatment it received from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Those who incurred the curse of Allah and His wrath, those on whom He transformed into apes and swine, those who worshipped evil, Taghut, which also means sorcery, witchcraft, magic. These are many times worse in rank and far more astray from the path. Holy Quran, Surah 5, ayat 60. I just want to go here to the issue of the jinns. As per Holy Quran, Surah 2, ayat 102, there has been established a correlation between them and Suhr, Jibt, and Taghut, even as these terms expound to the definitions of magic, sorcery, witchcraft, and the worship of evil, and some tafsirs say the worship of idols, which is shirk. This is supported with the ayah, to those who leave off the dhikr of Allah, Allah assigns them a shaitan. Holy Quran, Surah Al-Zukhruf, ayat 36. Surah Al-Nahl, ayat 99 through 100. Essentially stating that shaitan only has authority over those who take him, her, it as wali, and the mushrikun. So those who take him, her, it as wali, and those who are mushrikun, they are the ones who essentially the shaitan has authority over, which is essentially stated in this ayat of Surah Al-Nahl. One of the things that I was talking to some Twitters about was a situation here, and I will just kind of read from it. Allah has said that those that leave off the dhikr of Allah, Allah will assign a shaitan. They leave His dhikr that worship the malaika, as per the ayat when He asked them if they commanded the worship of them, and they testify, it was the jinns that they worshiped, and many of them believed in them. And of course, they glorified him first. It was the natural adab and etiquette is to praise and glorify him first, and then they testified as to their allegiance to him, and then they said, well, no, they worship the jinns, and many of them believed in them. Thus, same for those that worship men, pagan deities, ancient Greek, Roman, or Hindu, etc. There's a place here in Colorado called the Garden of the Gods. Must be a stumping ground for shaitans, and never planned to go there personally. Then, of course, there are the vast numbers here that decided to worship shaitan. Nabi Sulaiman sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you look for evil, it will find you. If you look for good, you'll be amongst the wise. There seems to be 6 ways that they attempt to sap a human spirit, calling them 1, the God, 2, son of God, 3, wazir, وَلَا تَزِرُ وَزِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. Wazir is someone who would bear the burdens of another's sins. Vizier, this was a concept of Aaron the priest, and that was also transferred down to the Messiah. The concept of wazir was done away with al-Islam because it was somewhat unfair. 4, naming them their sacrifice. 5, their scapegoat. 6, using the parable of the Roman officer. Or 7, falsifying laws on brotherhood. Got to examine those well. So anyway, I wanted to go through that little situation here of how getting into different types of spiritualities, and there's a lot of Wiccans and witchcraft and that type of thing going on out here. And getting into that type of spirituality definitely brings about a type of spiritual jinn force, principalities, and this also shuts them out from the help of Allah. As was mentioned in the ayat, those whom Allah hath cursed, and those whom Allah hath cursed, thou wilt have no one to help them. So there is this alternative paths of trying to seek for different things, medicine, health, food, and all that type of thing. And so that's why I mentioned the 7 ways which they attempt to sap the soul or sap the spirit of humans. So let me get back to this. The jinns, I wanted to touch on the issue of the jinns. In the Surah of the jinns, a few ayats, and I'm just going to kind of briefly summarize. Essentially states that some amongst them are Muslims and some quite the contrary, quite evil. And not to cohabitate with jinns. It will only increase men and women in wrongdoing. Now jump to Surah 6. Look at how powerful the problem and how